Texas is full of folks with all kinds of obsessions. Obsessions over the food that we eat, the games that we play, and even music that we learn to love later in life. This week, we'll spend a little bit of time on an urban farm, a secret pinball hideaway, and with a high school band that might surprise you. So why don't you hop in and travel with me? My name is JB Sauceda, and this is Texas Country Reporter.
Being so close to the central business district of Bastrop is a positive for us, right? People can walk and bike to both locations. I mean, you just don't get much more Americana than a farm and a restaurant on the same street.
When you're driving down Bastrop's sleepy main drag, you could easily miss the farm Sonya Cote and David Barrow have christened Eden East. Tucked back behind their house, David grows a cornucopia of produce for Sonya to utilize at their restaurant, Storehouse.
And I think that's an important piece to what we're doing is the fact that it is in the downtown location and people are able to come to visit the farm and make that connection to your food that we're all searching for and what we're trying to steward here. The nostalgia of walking into the garden and picking something and then cooking and eating it leaves you in a good mood. You know, it's something that humans need.
And Sonya's been an advocate of local food and homegrown food her entire career, whether through art or through her work and role as a chef.
Sonya has been a chef at many restaurants over the years, but it was her time running a food truck at an urban farm in Austin that contributed most to the couple's vision of farming now. After befriending the owners of the farm, Sonya and David had the chance to run the farm themselves for a few years. And after developers bought the land the farm was on, Sonya and David transported all the fertile soil from Austin to Bastrop, where their vision for farm to table continues strong.
What's really cool about Sonya's vision and Texas, right, is that they can work hand in hand. Texas has such a diverse landscape, and so it provides all the ecosystems necessary for the proteins or the vegetables and fruits that we want for a diverse restaurant.
Is there something specific about Bastrop that you think has really enabled the success of Storehouse?
You know, we're filling a niche, I suppose, for the community. There's a lot of really great restaurants in town, but not ones that are doing anything like we're doing.
Bastrop has just opened up its arms and welcomed not only us, but basically everyone who's moved here over the last, 4 or 5 years. When we invite people to come out to the farm and there's yoga and educational classes and tours, and then we translate that into inviting people into the restaurant, it feels like community.
While Storehouse is a relative newcomer to the welcoming community in Bastrop, the building that houses the restaurant has a long-standing legacy in the small but growing town.
It's actually the oldest building in Bastrop on the downtown area because the fires destroyed it in 1850s. And it's been a storehouse, which was what it originally was, housing grains and stuff for the community in that building. It was all kinds of stuff. It was a funeral parlor, a brothel upstairs.
While it was also a funeral home, or was that just separate?
Let's hope not.
I don't know. It might have been.
Sonya and David have added their own chapter to the history of Bastrop with contributions like fresh farm produce from Eden East and bold farm-to-table dishes at Storehouse. But they're also passionate about inspiring others to pay more attention to where their food comes from.
I hope that people can come here and walk around and be like, oh, well, maybe I can also go home and grow something in my yard.
I mean, this is definitely going to motivate my wife. She's been asking to plant a big garden in the backyard for a while, so.
You should.
Yeah.
And, if you can go and just talk with people who are growing locally, they're going to be a valuable resource for what to do, how to start, what the process should be, how they should think about time and labor and energy and all that other good stuff. But everyone should grow 20% of their own food. Most people eat something similar week in and week out. So pick a couple of herbs, pick a couple of lettuces, pick a couple of heartier vegetables. Just start growing.
And if you can't, then we're here if you need to buy some good, delicious vegetables.
a pinball game, you never know what's going to happen. You never know where that ball is going to go, what it's going to do, and it's thrilling.
There was a time when you'd be hard-pressed to find a pinball tournament anywhere in Houston. But today, you can compete in pinball tournaments almost every night in the Space City. Jamie Burchell, John Spates, and the other folks at Wormhole are a large part of the city's exploding pinball scene.
Houston already has a phenomenal pinball community. It's called Space City Pinball, run by great people, but we're just a little microcosm of that right now.
They started in probably 2015, I'm going to say. I should know, but I don't. I think it's around 2015 they started. I didn't start playing until 2019, and just a great group of people, all just excited about competitive pinball and promoting the sport and our sport. Yeah, I mean, it's sport, hobby, it's a sport.
Though pinball and even arcades in general have ebbed in popularity with the rise of computer gaming and home consoles, enthusiasts have once again embraced the old-school thrills of pinball machines with their bouncing flippers, flashing lights, intoxicating sounds, and extensive terminology.
The bottom part is the cabinet, and the top part is called the back box, right? And then the parts, you have flippers, you have pop bumpers,
you
have
ramps.
you have ramps, you have spinners, you have, I guess they call them habit trails, the metal railing, the habit trails.
Well, and then they get even more complicated with magnets.
You have drop targets. You have stand-up targets that don't drop.
Wormhole started out as a collective of friends who were in a quarantine bubble together during the pandemic. They'd get together and play their extensive collection of machines to pass the time.
One day I was here from 3 in the afternoon to like 2 in the morning, and Tim joked, "This place is like a wormhole," and that was it. I mean, that's how we got the name of Wormhole Pinball.
The group has expanded beyond the original 8 pinball players, and now they open up the doors of Wormhole for tournaments anyone can play in.
We're open now 3 days a month, the first and third Monday and the first Saturday of every month. The first Saturday is really the best time.
First Saturday is the big tournament.
Because it's a big tournament, we have a DJ, and we really have a great time.
Wormhole Pinball is also doing its part to grow the pinball community beyond Houston. They stream pinball gameplay on custom rigs they've built themselves. The streams have made Jamie something of a celebrity in the pinball world.
We just went to Chicago Expo, which is like the big pinball expo in the world. And John gets irritated walking around with me because I'm on camera more and I get pulled. "Hey, that's Jamie from Wormhole." That's kind of weird.
What I like about it so much is that we're documenting these games as well. So we get them, bring them in here, and then we spend as much time as we need to get the games working as best we can. I mean, if we, get everything, may not be the prettiest, the playfield may be a little damaged or whatever, but I want the game to functionally play. And once we get it in that shape, then we bring it in here and we set it up and we'll stream it. And that way people who may come across the game, 5 years, 10, 15 years down the road and have no idea what it's supposed to do, can maybe look back and find these videos on YouTube and have a little, see what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And we have some pinball machines in here that are nowhere else in the world. And Warlock, there's only one location in the world that has a Warlock, or a Future Queen, there might be 5. So that's just the kind of cool stuff that the Wormhole does. Is not only are games pristine and
not always
cool,
yeah.
I think they play really well.
Oh yeah, that's very important. You want them to play really well. We make sure that
great.
Like if that Future Queen behind you's got a little damage on the playfield glass, okay, no big deal.
But nothing's wrong with that spinner.
No, spinner rips. So.
Because one thing that I did realize when I got to Uvalde is that this is a diamond in the rough. mean by that is that these kids are amazing. They're so talented, they're so smart, and when they put their mind to it, they can do it.
Mariachi, los coyotes y señores, pa' cantar lo que he soñado de ganar sus corazones.
Depending on where you live in Texas, you may not know how seriously some schools take mariachi. Well, I'm here to tell you, the competition is as fierce as football for the schools that participate.
So when the kids go to competition, they're going to be looked at from top to bottom, how they look, you know, do they look professional? Is the traje correct? Is the hair correct? Are the earrings matching? Are they picking up the hats at the same time? Are they putting them down at the same time? Do they start together? Do they end the song together?
Oh, there's a lot of nuance.
Yeah, there's just a lot that goes to it. The best way I can tell you what mariachi is, it's orchestra, it's band, it's theater, it's choir all in one, because you have to do everything.
Albert Martinez, director of Uvalde High School's Mariachi Los Coyotes, cares deeply about his students, but he hasn't always cared deeply about mariachi.
You know, when I was in high school, they started a mariachi in my high school, and I did not want to be in it, let me tell you the truth.
Why?
Till I was 4 years old, I lived in Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico, so I was Puerto Rican. So in my head, I always thought, I'm gonna be with Gilberto Santa Rosa and play with these big, you know, salsa bands.
But then, one day, high school in El Paso, he received his schedule. He saw he'd been put in the mariachi class.
And I went to my counselor and said, you gotta take this off. And they're like, oh no, the principal said, you gotta take this class. And I was like, but I hate mariachi. Like, I didn't like the music, you know? I was like, I don't like the music. And they're like, no, you'll be fine. You're gonna like it. You're gonna get into it. And I was like, no, but it's because mariachis are all drunk. And like, I just didn't want to associate myself with that, you know, with the drunkenness and the backyard parties and all that stuff.
It turns out Albert was the only trumpet who could play the part, so he was stuck. But after seeing some legendary mariachi groups play, well, he began to see the light.
I'm sitting there hating mariachi, and all of a sudden one of these groups comes out, it's Mariachi Cobre, and they play, and I'm like, oh my God. And then the singer starts singing, Steve, his name's Steve Carrillo, and he starts singing Granada, and it's opera. And I'm like, whoa, opera with mariachi? You know, that's what I'm thinking at this point. And they're in tune, and they play well, you know? And then Camperos come out, and they start playing, and I'm like, I was just blown away.
He went from hating mariachi to wanting to be in the greatest mariachi groups around after seeing these performances. And some of those dreams came true. He would even get the chance to play with one of the bands he saw that day. But now, his focus is on a different stage.
Because it's not about me. I already played my gigs. I did my CDs, you know. I'm very lucky that I did that stuff. But it's not about me anymore, you know.
Albert lived most of his life in El Paso, where he taught marching band for 19 years.
Encarnacion, scoot in a little bit more, mijo. Yeah, let's get licensed. There you go.
When his wife got a job in San Antonio, they decided to move, but Albert needed to find a job of his own. School had already started, so band jobs were hard to find. But he heard about a mariachi opening in Uvalde.
And so they offered me the job, and the lady said, so when do you want to start? And I said, I'll be there tomorrow. She goes, but you're in El Paso. There's no way you'll make it by tomorrow. I said, no, I'll be there tomorrow.
That's the kind of dedication Albert brings to this job. He still commutes over an hour back and forth from San Antonio every day to teach his students. But when he started at Uvalde, he had his work cut out for him.
When I got here, obviously it was already 2 months into school. The kids were laying down on the floor, and they were using it as an off period, you know, and the way they would describe it to me is an easy 100, mister. We don't do anything in this class. I remember I would walk around and say, so what instrument do you play? And they're on the floor just kind of scrolling through their phone, and who cares? I'm not gonna play, I'm not doing it, you know? And I was like, gosh, you know?
Albert was patient. He started concentrating his efforts on getting to know his students.
I would ask them questions like, hey, so tell me about the football team here at school and how, you know, do we win, do we lose? Because I didn't really know a lot of the history of Uvalde. So they started educating me on what they like, on the city of Uvalde. And I think that's when they finally started like, okay, let's take out our instrument, you know? And I remember the week before Thanksgiving, and you know, I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday, I'm sitting there and I look into the classroom and every single kid's on a chair and every single kid has an instrument. And I was like, whoa, guys, take a look, take a picture, look it around, because every single one of you is now participating. How cool is that?
Yeah, let's do that again. Ready? You ready, Idol? Here we go. Set, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 1. There you go.
Albert had great breakthroughs, but he also had setbacks and trouble with participation.
I remember the second year I had a problem with one of my students, and one of my kids came up to me and said, "Mister, if you want, I'll go beat him up." No, we're not beating anybody up. It's okay, he's gonna be fine. I said, "Do you remember that was you last year? You were giving me that problem." "Yeah, I know. I said, "So it's okay, he's gonna come around just like you did. It's gonna be okay, you know?"
And it was okay. Albert thought it might be 5 years before the program could bring home top awards at the state competition. But his group was awarded a first division award in only his second year at Uvalde. When you see Albert work with the students, you can see how they got there.
Right, make sure that we're standing up tall, that we look good, that we're smiling, right? Playing together, ending together, and then talking about how we come to the front and all that stuff.
And the students are all in for Albert's vision for the Mariachi program.
He's made us better, like, in so many ways. I think before he came, we were kind of like lost in a way. He always emphasizes that it's kind of like the little things, like, you know, shaking people's hands and, you know, smiling people, asking them how their day is or how it's going. It kind of, you know, builds a relationship with someone outside of the classroom. Like, just overall, we'll become better people if we interact with others and, you know, make sure that, you know, they're doing okay.
I agree. My mannerism as a person has definitely changed thanks to Mr. Martinez. I noticed myself telling teachers, have a good day, have a good weekend, all because he tells me every day, have a good day, have a good weekend.
The newfound passion Albert brought to the Uvalde High Mariachi Band has not gone unnoticed.
So the community here in Uvalde is really supportive?
Incredibly supportive. I mean, there's really great people in Uvalde, and our district is incredibly supportive. You know, our superintendent, very supportive. Our administration, you know, they make sure that the kids get what they need and that everybody's supported and get what they want.
When you think about mariachi, what comes to mind?
What I've fallen in love with mariachi is the interpretation of the music, the words. They just have so much meaning when you're really listening to the songs. And I tell the kids, you know, what we're trying to do as performers is we're trying to make people dance, laugh, cry, smile. If we can't bring those emotions out of people, then we're not doing our job, you know? And so that's one thing, like when you hear the mariachi and they play El Son de la Negra and it's so lively and it's in your face.
My wife and I walked into our reception at our wedding to that song.
You see?
One of my favorites, and it was just such this, and just that, man, I'm like, man, I want to go to a party right now.
Yeah, for these kids, mariachi is their heritage. It goes back to where their grandparents were born, their great-grandparents were born. Some of their parents were still born in Mexico, and now they've come here to Uvalde, and they're able to do this for their grandparents, or, you know? And so I love it when their grandparents are here and they're like, thank you, because this reminded me of when I was 10 years old and I was in Piedras Negras and I saw this mariachi play. And all of a sudden, here's my kid doing what I saw those guys doing. I just love it, and it's bringing me back to when I was a kid, you know? So they reminisce in the music, and that's what mariachi is to me, and I think to them as well.
Just like the wedding. Yeah.
In the time since we recorded the story, I've gotten word that the Uvalde High School Mariachi Band has made it to state once again. It's not surprising to hear, but nonetheless always exciting to share. So I look forward to next week when we'll have more stories like theirs, and we'll continue on this journey down the back roads of Texas. My name is JB Salceda, and this is Texas Country Reporter.